Hello, thank you very much for joining. We have Jacqueline Miller with us today. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi, how are you, Linda? Hi, everyone. Yes, it's
I'm
me.
fine. I'm so excited to have you with us because I've been following you for some time, and you're for me the epitome of authenticity. So I'm really
Oh,
looking forward
thank
to
you.
this conversation.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you.
So, Jacqueline, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Certainly, I am, and sometimes it's gotten to the point now where I feel like I run on about, who I am. First and foremost, I'm a mom. And I'm an entrepreneur. I am a life strategist and coach. I work primarily with moms, but I also work with women. And with moms, I really work to empower them to realize that it's okay to give them permission to have passions outside of motherhood. It's okay, moms, to have loves outside of motherhood. I'm also a speaker and a coach, and I'm known as the Get Your Life Strategist because that's what I want moms to do. Get their life, and my trademark slogan is motherhood is not where dreams go to die. And I seriously want women to realize that you don't have to wait to become an empty nester to suddenly say, oh, I have my life back. Reconnect or redefine your pre-mom dreams now while your kids are at home. You can do it. So I'm just loving this journey that I'm on as an entrepreneur, and obviously I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be here and speak with you and your audience.
Yeah, that's awesome. So can you tell us a bit about your journey? So were you like hugely successful and fantastic your whole entire life, or did you have?
I wish I could say that. I'm a woman who grew up in Brooklyn, New York. And if there's anybody that's watching and listening to this, know that there are the quote good parts of Brooklyn, and then there are the parts of Brooklyn where it's a struggle. People are struggling just to live day to day. I grew up in a home with parents who were blue collar workers. They migrated here from the South, and I'm one of four children, and we had it rough. There was nothing that came easy to me, but I always knew that there was life outside of my space. I never felt confined to that environment of struggle, even though I grew up with parents who had very limited mindsets about money. And that's one of the things that I work with women to make certain they're not bringing that baggage from childhood into their parenting. Everything with my parents was, we don't have that kind of money. We don't have that kind of money. So I grew up with that mindset thinking everybody else had the money except for us. And therefore, I was almost trapped into believing I would never have money until I started working outside of and existing outside of my home life and got into corporate America, went to college and met my husband actually working for a financial firm. How weird is that? A young girl who grew up in a home where money was limited, but I ended up working in one of the top financial firms in the world, and it's there that I met my husband. We dated for several years. We got married. We had the destination wedding. We went off to the Caribbean. We, had the steel band. We only had about 30 friends and family. I mean, it was the ideal wedding right there on the beach. 2 years after we got married, my first son was born. We moved to the suburbs, the house, the picket fence, the 2 cars. Then 5 years later, my second son was born. Life was great until Super Bowl Sunday 2002 when my husband did not wake up. And needless to say, that was a turning point in my life, because here I went from this quote unquote ideal life to now becoming what I refer to as suddenly single.
Yeah.
A suddenly single mom of 5.5-year-old and a 10.5-year-old. And boys, at that, I just literally thought my life was over, because as I would tell my children, and I still tell them, I can be the best mom that I can possibly be, but I can never replace your dad. So just bear with me as I try and get my bearings with this new role. And on top of that, Linda, I was working a very demanding job. I was putting in, 50, 60 hours a week, either at work in my office or, dragging it home. And it was difficult. And I began to neglect myself. Self-care became something that, as many of us do, women and moms, we put it on the back burner.
Yeah.
And I said, the kids say LOL, meaning laugh out loud. For me, it was, and many other women, it's last on list.
Yeah.
And that's pretty sad. But life has a way of figuring itself out. And fortunately for me, it did. When my son was leaving for college 2 years ago, actually, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, Linda, of walking past a mirror and then having to walk back and look because that vision in that image in the mirror you don't recognize. That was me. And it scared that daylights out of me because I said, who is this woman?
Right.
I was a mess. Here I was, because what I had done was lost myself in my job and in mothering. I lost sight of Jacqueline. And I knew that in doing so, I couldn't have been although I tried to convince myself that I had been, I couldn't have been the best mom possible if I wasn't living and showing the world my best self.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, because I was unfulfilled in my job. I had gotten to a point where it was just a job.
Yeah.
It was a source of income. I stopped being motivated, by it. And it was at that moment when I said, I need to reconnect with Jacqueline. I need to reconnect with those dreams that Jacqueline had as a little girl. And I'm someone who walked at age of, I was 8 months old when I started walking.
Wow.
And my mother said she knew she was in for a handful at that moment. I walked at 8 months because she said, it appears that I saw something across the room. My father said it was a goldfish tank. And they had me in a high chair, and I found a way to get out of that high chair to get to that fish tank. And my mom said I barely ever crawled. I literally went from sitting, watching, observing to walking.
Wow.
And that says a lot about an 8-month-old. And as she said, she knew what she was in for. So I'm just grateful that I was able to get an opportunity to really dig into finding out what my purpose was. And the way that I did that, I actually went to a conference out in California. And I don't know how many of your listeners or may be familiar. Phenomenal woman who I tell her all the time. She changed my life. Motivational speaker Lisa Nichols. She was in the movie The Secret.
Yeah.
I had a moment with her over lunch the first day that I was at this conference, and she asked me why I was there. What brought you here? And I honestly couldn't tell her, other than after I dropped my son off at college, I began blogging. I majored in journalism in school, so writing comes natural for me. I could sit down and write an article. I'm writing, an ebook now that took me no time. And actually, on the way back from California home, I wrote an ebook. And I spoke about, it's called 10 Steps to Go From Stuck to Unstoppable. That trip just brought me so much clarity, because she asked me, and this is one of the things I do with my clients, I dig deep into, what do you love? What motivates you? What puts a smile on your face? What would you do? And this is so simple. What would you do if you had an opportunity to do and have as a career, even if you didn't get paid for it? And my response came and fell off my tongue so easily. It was, I want to empower moms so that they don't fall into the trap that I did. I simply believe that I couldn't follow my dreams and be a great mom at the same time. So while I had these desires to own my own business and be my own boss, I kept pushing them to the back burner because I kept saying, gotta wait for my kids to be out of the house. Gotta wait for this. Procrastination queen. And so many
for the right
women.
time.
Exactly. We procrastinate. We find excuses. And that's what oftentimes they are. Sometimes it's out of fear. A lot of times it's simply out of a lack of clarity. We don't know what we want. I had a woman, a good friend of mine, who spoke to me via Facebook the other day, and she said, I'm not used to putting myself first. And because I never took the time to figure out what it is I want to do as a woman.
Yeah.
You know, we tend to not separate as mothers. We tend to forget that we were women without kids at one point. And we get into mothering, and while my children will always be first, there is a way. I don't like to use the word balance because truthfully, I don't believe there is such a thing, because, you know, I envision the juggler. You know, if you ever watch a juggler and he's juggling the balls, he never has, or she never has them all in his hands at the same time. One is up in the air, one is, you know, here. So I like to look at it and view it as healthy harmony, finding that healthy harmony that works in your life. If the laundry doesn't get done today, so what? You spend an hour sitting down at dinner with your children talking about the day. Or if you didn't get to go to the supermarket or the grocery store and pick up, you know, the cereal that the kids needed, well, you know what, we'll have eggs tomorrow, but I'm going to go in this room, I'm going to go in this quiet space, and I'm going to start to write that novel that's been on my brain since I got out of college.
Yeah.
So we have to find healthy harmony, and we have to do it without being consumed by guilt. I think that is one of the things that harnesses women, impedes their dreams, this sense of guilt that if I don't spend every waking moment either working in a job, and unfortunately many working in jobs that they hate, but it's a paycheck, and I get that, or going to every game, enrolling my child in every activity, and then where's the time for you? You can't authentically inspire your children to follow their dreams if you aren't doing the same. You're their role model. You're their mirror.
Yeah, yeah, and I love the idea of healthy harmony. It's a brilliant concept. Actually, it's much better than balance. I absolutely agree. So, some people who are watching this might say, how do you get that clarity? So, I mean, it's fine, you know, to say once you have clarity, you can go ahead and do whatever you want, but how does one achieve clarity? What would you say is the step for you? How should people go about sort of trying to achieve clarity?
Well, number one, I find that for me anyway, and with some of my clients, and that's why they come to me, it's very difficult to get to it on your own.
Yes.
Because we can be our worst enemy. We will talk. People talk about having voices in their head saying, do this. I have a committee. I had a committee in my head, not just one individual. Oh, you can't do that. Or who do you think you are to consider that? It's amazing when you work with someone else. And for me, it was a coach that I hired right out of the gate when I realized this is what I wanted to do, who pulled things out of me that I did not know existed. In 10 minutes, Lisa Nichols identified for me what I was most passionate about. When she asked me originally what I was passionate about, I told her something else. And she kept saying, okay, keep talking. And she said, and she started asking me questions about my life. And that's when I started telling her about, you know, my husband, you know, dying, and my mom, and I mean, not my mom, but being a mom and raising my kids, and the things that I had done to make certain that they could never have the life that they had with their dad, but I wanted to at least try and have it so that their life didn't miss a beat on the things that I know they would have had access to. So I was always doing research. I was always exploring programs, and my friends began to come to me and ask questions. Well, Jacqueline, how did you find out about that? And how did you do that? When I started sharing that with Lisa, she said, Jacqueline, that's where your passion. She said, you should have seen how your eyes lit up when you started speaking about how you help other people, how you did what you did, and how it helped you in your life as a mom. I would never have known that.
Yeah.
And I tried to figure out and get clear on my own.
Yeah.
So having either an accountability partner or a coach that helps you dig deep to understand, this is where I see the fire. This is what I see you doing. And of course, I could have disagreed with her, but I realized I felt that fire in me as I was speaking to her, and didn't realize it until someone else pointed it out to me. But it does take, and this is very difficult for women, it takes me time. You know, for example, that trip out to California was me time. I did that for me. I decided, yes, I am worthy. I am going to do this for me. And deep down inside, I truly believe I needed to be in her space. There was something about her. I'd been following her. And I said to myself, if I don't get some clarity being in her space and being around the folks that I had gotten to know who also followed her, I don't think I'll ever get it. And I proved myself right. I did. I went out there being around like-minded people. Yes. Who are going to support you, who are going to call you on your stuff. That's what I call it. Jacqueline, no, I don't see you doing that, but I see you doing this. Or, you know, I think you should look at this. Those are the things that really help. And a lot of times it's tried and true, because I'm sure people think, oh, I've got this skill set. And they go out and they try it and it's not them. But for me, I knew I had found my niche and that I was clear on what I needed to do. From the moment I had that conversation with her until this day, I get out of bed every morning excited for life. There's no more of that hitting the snooze button 2 and 3 times. I know that this is my assignment. I know this is what I was put on this earth to do. I am so clear on it now because of how it makes me feel here and getting the feedback from people. There's just nothing more rewarding than having someone else tell you, you transform my life. You helped me in this regard. And I would have never been able to come to this conclusion on my own. So number one, give yourself permission to even explore the possibilities. I always say, when you find your passion, find out what you're so passionate about, you will find your purpose. And then from there, oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless. And so many people won't take that time or give themselves the permission to do just that because they're caught up in the day-to-day. And as I hate to say it, but mediocre living, because that's all they know.
Yeah, it's the reality from maybe their upbringing or their entourage, yes, or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
So I mean, I have a kind of a funny question, but do you think that people can achieve sort of a great life by sort of avoiding self-care? And because this is something that, I mean, obviously I've worked with a lot of clients in regards to sort of taking care of yourself and the importance of self-love and how that sort of can change things. But some people really struggle with this. And I would say also some people sort of mistake sort of egotistical behaviors or narcissistic behaviors for self-care.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, number one, I think, as you definitely stated, there's some confusion. And I tell people all the time, self-care is not selfish.
Yes.
There is a difference. Because if you're not taking care of you, how can you pour into anyone else? You know, as the phrase states, you can't pour into other people from an empty cup. You've got to take care of yourself in order for you to be of any benefit to anyone else. If you're running on empty, I mean, it's a simple, visual for me. How far can that brand new shiny car on the outside, anyway, how far can it go if the gas tank is empty?
Yeah, or there's no oil.
Exactly. I don't care how beautiful it looks on the inside. It's just a showpiece. In order for you to be of use to anyone else, you've got to take care of who you are internally, externally, so that you can help other folks, because otherwise they're getting a facsimile of you. They're not getting the best you. And I'm of the belief, and I mean, I know everyone else, has their own spiritual, foundation. I'm of the belief that we were all born fully loaded. It's just a matter of what we do with those gifts and talents. And it's very difficult to put those gifts and talents to use if you're walking around fatigued, angry, and a lot of that anger comes from fulfillment, from being unfulfilled. Confidence is sometimes also, and self-worth is another factor in why some people don't put themselves as a priority, and take care of themselves. As I said previously, I, in my head, could have thought and was thinking I was being the best mom to my children, but was I really operating in the greatness of mom that I know I could have been had I been at a happier, more fulfilled place? And also when it comes to self-care, because I was so busy taking care of them, I started to neglect my own health.
Yeah.
And what good could I have been to my children if I ended up off this earth like their dad?
Yeah.
There's got to be the separation, and it doesn't come easy for folks and women. I have to say it, especially separating self-care and self-love from selfish. There are some people who, the lines are blurred. I get that. There are narcissists in the world. Yeah. But for most of us, it's this difficulty in separating the fact that it doesn't make you a selfish person because you say, every Tuesday and Thursday from 2 to 3, I'm going to the gym, or I'm going for a walk. I'm going in my mom cave and turn on my Beethoven or whatever music you listen to and light a candle and just be me. Yeah. That's not selfish. Matter of fact, you come out so much more rejuvenated, and then you're in a better position to be of service to other people.
Exactly. That's, I mean, it's beautifully said, because it's of such importance to refuel, recharge, and make sure that you have the energy to do what you have to do in life.
Exactly.
So one of the things that obviously you've done is overcome an enormous amount of adversity. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, is there a tip or something that you can give, or sort of some guidance on how you can go from where you were? And maybe it's about, what you're saying about in your head. And I know that you've talked about getting your own coach, and that really helped. But is there something that happened that really allowed you to go from a place that was probably very, very difficult to where you are today, which is amazing?
I think, Linda, there are so many components, at least in my situation. Number one, I tell people, when you come from scarcity, that is such a huge motivation. And when you've come from scarcity and you see what else exists, for me, I chose to have more than to have less, or to just say, average is enough. I was always motivated by more. Self-confidence was something that, for me, and my friends laugh at me when I tell them, I'm actually shy. And they go, sure, okay. But there is a shyness to me, because I always, wanted to say to myself, well, if you could do that, Why haven't you been doing it? If that was a possibility, why haven't you been doing it? I was the hindrance. So the tip is to know what you want, believe that you can have it, and be committed to doing the work to make it happen. I just knew from my kids, I wanted to be the best role model for them. I did not want them, as so many kids do, they look outside of their home or their families for role models. I wanted to be the role model for them. I wanted them to say, I'm following my dreams, and guess what? The person who inspired me most was my mom.
Yeah, don't tell them what to do. Show them how to do it.
Show them what to do it. We are the highlight reel. We are the highlight reel. Our children will follow our actions more than they will follow our words.
Yeah, that I know.
Yeah, I mean, so the tip is, and as we talked about it, first of all, is getting clarity on what you want, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Because one of the things I tell folks, sometimes you could be either sleeping with the enemy. Take a look in your circle and see who claps for you when you win. Because not everybody's on team you. Unfortunately, that's a discovery that I've made and so many people have made when they venture into this thing called entrepreneurship, or I'm going to follow my dreams. You have a lot of people that look at you like you're crazy. Oh, just continue working at that job for the 20, 30 years, get your pension and be happy. A lot of people don't get entrepreneurs. What is this follow your dreams stuff? But when you are so passionate about something, and I know I have this independent streak, I'm the child that said, you are not the boss of me, before the phrase became very popular. I always knew at some point in my life I needed to be my own boss, and not just from a standpoint of, oh, I don't want anybody telling me what to do. From a financial standpoint, I wanted to be the person who controlled my purse strings.
Yes.
One thing that I didn't share with you and your audience is I headed up a human resources department in corporate America. So I was the nice woman who welcomed you and hired you and offered you your job, but I was also unfortunately in a position where I had to let go folks. And it's sometimes at the most inopportune times. You know, they're about to buy a house and their job's gone. You know, the wife's about to have a baby and the job's gone. But guess what? My day came as well when my services were no longer needed. And that period of panic, because here I was, a single mom. Oh my God, what am I going to do for finances? I knew from that point on, I was never going to be in a position to allow anyone else to control my income. Yes. If I could avoid that, I needed to be in control. And that's how I got there. So understanding your worth is critical. Valuing your skill set and being honest with where your strengths and your weaknesses are. Not everyone can do everything. You know, everyone's always looking over the fence in someone else's yard, and the grass is always greener, you know, in somebody else, but you don't know what they had to do to get there, nor do you know how they got it. You don't know. I tell people all the time, believe less than a third of what you see on Facebook.
Yeah, well, I mean, the grass is greener. They've been like pulling the weeds and tending to it.
Exactly. Exactly. Be you. Follow what really motivates and ignites you. You know, I always say to people, be the best you that you can be, because everybody else is taken. Focus on what your strengths and your weaknesses might be. You know, and if it's a weakness, that doesn't mean you can't pursue that area. It just means you need to get greater skill sets and greater experience in that area. But for me, it's been getting the clarity, surrounding myself with like-minded people who are going to support me, not following the shiny object syndrome. Oh, on Monday I want to do this, and Wednesday I want to do that, and Thursday I want to do, because then you're like the mouse on the wheel.
Yeah.
You may want to try your hand at this or that, and because at one point I definitely, and I still do, but it's not my secondary business. I love working with young girls, particularly young girls who maybe experiencing what I was experiencing growing up, knowing that there was life outside of my immediate area, but no one else seemed to believe it. I had friends who would say to me, "Come on, Jacqueline, we're going out. We're going here today. Where are you going?" And I'd say, "I'm going to school." And they would say, "But you went yesterday." You know, I always knew, oh my gosh, this is not going to be my life. I've got to get out of here. I've got to go. And what really helped me, the first time I left the country, I went to the Caribbean, not by myself, but I went with a friend, but I paid for it with my money. I saved it. And the first time that I stepped foot in another country and saw pink sand, because again, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. There was no pink sand, and this aqua green water. I was bitten by the travel bug, and I said, "This is just the beginning," and it was. It really was, because I got to meet different people, different cultures, and saw what life looked like outside of my neighborhood of struggle. And then I was not only able to come back and have a new appreciation for life, but I was able to tell other people, you really want to go here.
Yeah, so it's like
you can exactly. This can happen for you. If it can happen for me, it can happen for you. So it wasn't just, some people, they gather knowledge and experiences and they keep it all buttoned up to themselves. No, I have always been the one to encourage other people. Come on, let's do this. Let's go here.
Yeah.
But you've got to want it. You've got to want it, Linda, more than anyone else wants it for you. No one can make you do, be, have anything. You've got to truly want it. It's got to be what works for you. Not for me, not for you, but what works for that individual.
Yeah, I love that. That's absolutely. And what I love about your story is also about the power of you making the choices for you.
Right.
It's not about waiting for somebody else to hand it down to you, or somebody knocking on the door and saying, "Here you go, here's a great life, Jacqueline." No, it's about going out and getting it. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you're still trying. And exactly. I love the discover and try new things, because you might be surprised. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't matter. It's like, just keep on and trying them.
Exactly. I mean, failure, I always say, if you haven't experienced some level of failure in your life, you haven't dreamed big enough. Mm-hmm. And it's not about the fall down. It's about the get up. It's all about, what do you do when you suffer, that failure? What do? For me, get up, dust myself off, and move on. I heard someone say once, I don't fail, I get data. And that's what I look at. If I attempt something and it didn't go the way I wanted, okay, what were my lessons learned? I don't just simply, pick up my toys and go home because of that one failure. Yeah. If you look at some of our most successful people in life and read their stories, they've had some failures, but it's about the get up and as they say, fail forward.
Yes.
Fail forward, keep going.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, absolutely. This is so great. And it's true. I mean, some people really struggle and they feel like a failure is like the end of the world and they don't know how to deal with it. But you're absolutely right. And I always say to my clients, if you believe, whatever you believe is true. Because as human beings, our brain is like wired to prove that whatever we believe is true. It's like, take your pick.
Exactly. And it's the same thing, when you make the statement, I am. Those words that follow I am become true to who you are.
Yeah.
I give exercises. I have a Facebook group of moms, and it's, a question that I put out to them in the group. Fill in the blank, I am. Because what follows that is a true reflection on who you think you are and what you think you can become.
Yes, I love that. Awesome. Excellent. This has been such a fantastic chat, Jacqueline. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
is there a final tip that you might want to share with people to say, maybe they're in a space where they're really stuck and, they're really struggling with, trying to figure out sort of what, the next step is for them to do. Like, so what would you say to that person? What tip would you give them?
Well, if anyone follows me on social media, Mogul Mom du Jour, my hashtags are get clear, get committed, get your life, and now I've added back.
Yeah.
Because we all have a life, but sometimes we put it on the back burner. Get clear on what it is that you truly want out of life, not just what's expected of you, especially as moms. Become the woman that you want to be, not just the mom that you're expected to be. I'm creating a tool. I've already created it, but it's something that I use with women to help them really identify their purpose, because that's a big part of moving forward. When you don't know where to go, you stand still. And that's why there are so many people who are stuck and stagnant. So number one, get clear. Take the measures and find the resources to help you get clear on what it is that you really are here on this earth for. Because we all know if we were to go digging 6 feet under in the nearest cemetery, God only knows how many dreams we would find buried. People took them to their grave because they were stuck. And then once you get that clarity and you understand what you're passionate about, what your purpose, get into action. I hear so many people talking about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I'm like, well, you know what? You said that in 2010.
Yeah.
Get in action. Yeah, and as we already discussed, so what if it doesn't work out the first time? Keep moving. But tribe, and I call it tribe, having people in your space who are going to motivate you, inspire you, encourage you is so critical to you getting unstuck. And one bit of information, don't necessarily rely on family and close friends, because they don't get you in most cases unless they're also going through this phase of their life or have gone through it. They don't get it. One of the things that has helped propel me to this place in the success of my career, my tribe has been transformed. My circle has been transformed because I don't need people around me telling me what I can't do. I want to be surrounded by people that tell me, you can do this, and how can I help? How can we collaborate? How can I, support you in something, and vice versa.
Of course.
But getting into action, stop with and folks, I'm broke. It's a money mindset. I'm a true believer. If you want something bad enough, you find a way to make it happen. It drives me nuts when I have women contact me and say, I really want to work with you, but I don't have the money. And then I see them on Facebook the next day, with the $1,000 handbag, or, the dress that, they spent almost as much on. But yet you're stuck, stagnant in your life. You're miserable, but you don't have money to build up self.
Yes.
To me, that tells me something is out of sync. Your priorities are not there, and are you truly committed to living your best life? Because material wealth just lasts for so long. I mean, I got a ton of stuff in my house that I paid good money for as far as clothing. I wouldn't walk out of my house right now because it's out of style. But at that time, I needed to have it.
Yeah.
But so many people get stuck in the material things, and they leave self and personal development out of the picture. And that's key to getting in action. And then getting your life, own it. If that's what you want to, whatever it is you've decided is your passion and your purpose, own it. Get that voice out of your head, as I talked about. In my case, it was a committee. Yeah. Detox your life from people who are not supporting you. And as I say repeatedly, watch who claps for you when you win, but also watch and see who doesn't. And if you're a mom, it's so critical that you realize and understand you can be a great mom and follow your dreams. It requires things to be put in place. I have a program called My Journey Back to Me, and one of the things we go through is the whole clarity purpose, understanding your why you do some certain things, how to parent without losing sight of who you are, because you can do it, how to keep that relationship fresh and spicy while you're pursuing your dreams, because the last thing you want is to feel that, or your mate to feel like, oh, I'm not a priority anymore, the family's not a priority anymore. I tell them the best thing you can do as a mom or a woman who's in a relationship, get those folks in your household on your team. Yeah. Show them what's in it for them. And then you've got an unpaid staff of volunteers, because they're all excited. Oh, let's help mom. Let's help her do this. Let's leave mom alone tonight and let her go in there and write that book, because when she writes that book, and she goes out there and she starts her business, guess what? That brings more money in here for us. And then we get to go on trips, and we get to show them what's in it for them. And then again, as I said, we are their mirror. They are then now inspired. One of my sons is writing a book because he saw me write 3.
Oh yeah, awesome.
He says, Mom, you inspire me. But get in action, collaborate with folks, ask for help. That 4-letter word that so many women refuse to put in action. You read stories about, oh, you can't have it all. Women can't have it all. I totally disagree. We can have it all, but we generally can't do it all at once, and we certainly cannot do it without help. Yes. I don't get to do all of this without some level of help, whether it be a friend that does helps me with a task, or going to a spa. My birthday's coming up in July. My friends and family always ask me, what do you want? You know what I want? Spa certificates. Because I can, that's a big part of my me time.
Yeah.
I may be spending, money on my business, but you can help me by giving me the kinds of gifts that are going to help me.
Yeah.
So once they get that. So those are the tips that I would say. Get clear, get committed. If this is really what you want, do it. And don't just, people think, well, oh, okay, I want to start my business tomorrow. I'm going to leave my job and get it done. Don't be crazy. I would never tell anyone to just quit your job and go out there and follow your dreams, because guess what? Your bills still have to be paid. One of the things that I'm a proponent of is viewing your current job, and I learned this again from motivational speaker Lisa Nichols. Let your job be your investor in your breathtaking future.
Oh yeah, nice.
You will know when it's your time to leave that job, but in the meantime, let that current job, if you are working, let it be your investor, so that when you do leave, you're not operating from a place of, oh my gosh, I can only follow my dream for 2 months because that's all I saved up for.
Yeah.
Be prepared to go out there on that skinny branch and live big. And as I say, let the world see what you're working with. Your greatness is there. It's just a matter of, are you ready to let the world see it?
That's right. I love it. And I love your, you'll know when it's time to leave, because you'll know when it's time to change. When it's time to act. When it's time to, and that's the thing, is like, just trust.
Right. Exactly. And it's there will be different signs for different people. There's, a woman in my Facebook group, it became a health issue for her.
Yeah.
The stress in her job was killing her. So it wasn't as simple as, well, I'm not going to leave until I, accumulate X amount of dollars in the bank. From a medical standpoint, her job was killing her. She had to leave. And now she's gone, and she can do the things that she has always wanted to do when she was doing it. I call it a side hustle. She had her little side hustle going, while she was working. And that's something I also encourage people to do. It doesn't mean that you can't have your dream work going on the side while you're working. You just have to be smart about it. And that's one of the things that I teach women. The whole office doesn't need to know you've got a side hustle, because guess what? When it's time to downsize and you're neck and neck with someone else on the skill set level and tenure, and they say, we got to let one person go. Well, you know what? She seems to have another little thing going on the side. She'll be fine. Yeah. Everyone doesn't have to know. As I say, Don't tell everyone your big dream. Don't tell everyone your big dreams, especially small-minded people. Everybody doesn't have to know, but you still can be working on it. And I always say, if you've got a dream, you should be putting in more time with that dream than you are putting in building someone else's dream.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it'll never happen for you. You've got to make the sacrifice. This is all about sacrifice. You're not doing what you're doing, Linda, without having made sacrifices. I know I'm not doing what I'm doing without having made and continuing to make sacrifices. But when you want it bad enough, you make it happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fantastic conversation. Thank you so much. I truly feel blessed to have had this conversation with you. You're an absolute inspiration, not only to your sons, but to everybody who is exposed to your greatness. I truly appreciate this call.
Thank you, Linda. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for having me on. One thing that, and again, it goes back to why my friends laugh when I say I'm shy. I love to talk. I love to pour into people and inspire them because, as I said, I'm this girl from Brooklyn, New York, who always, in many cases, felt like the outsider. I'm the girl when everyone else was, joining the dance club, I decided to play violin. I'm the girl who studied Spanish. I didn't become fluent at it, but it wasn't challenging me anymore. So when the opportunity presented itself, I ended up studying Hebrew. So here I am, as you can see, this chocolate girl from Brooklyn, New York, walking around with a violin, studying Hebrew on public buses in Brooklyn, and having people look at me going, what in the heck is this? But I never marched to anyone else's beat. I have always been me, do me. That's, just being me. And so far it has worked for me because I am who I am. As we said, prior to coming on air, authenticity is key. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, she used to say all the time, baby, speak the truth. Because when you tell a lie, you got to keep up with it.
Yeah.
When you tell the truth is always going to be the truth. You can tell it in a different way, use a different tone, but your truth never changes. A lie changes, and you got to keep up with it. I am who I am. People will love me or they won't, but they can never accuse me of just not being who I am, and having this desire to have other people live in their truth and share it. Because as Lisa Nichols said to me, Jacqueline, your testimony will help benefit someone else's life. Your story will benefit someone. I was holding on. I was being selfish by not going out into the world and sharing my story of being in a place where odds were against me, being a woman who had the six-figure job in the corner office and traveled, and odds were against me. But I'm here to show the world that when you want something bad enough, you can make it happen.
I absolutely agree, because I was there as well. And there are a whole bunch of naysayers saying, God, get yourself a real job.
Yeah, a real job. Define real job. Miserable, having someone else tell you when you can take vacation, or questioning when you take a sick day. That's a real job. That's happiness. We only go around this life once. I intend to ride it until the wheels fall off with a smile on my face most of the time. It's not easy, but I'd rather be doing this with Jacqueline at the wheel than someone else.
Right on. Awesome. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been brilliant.
Thank you so much.
I so appreciate it. And yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Linda. You do the same.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.